never was in the butchering business per
No,
se. Your dad
my
was
dad was a butcher.
in Coolidge, but not Florence.
Coolidge, yeah, and they're right close to each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
but we lived in Coolidge and I went to kindergarten.
Hi, everybody. I know a lot of you, but some I don't know. And I know some of my yogis are here today. And I'm so glad to see them and my family. But I've had quite an adventurous life. And I can tell you that we moved here from New York. My mom and dad were models in New York. But Dad always wanted to be a rancher. And his parents already lived in Tupac. They had a place in Tupac. So we moved out here and we lived at the Bell Ranch for a few years before Mom and Dad bought the KJ Ranch or the Sorrells Ranch or whatever you want to call it. But we grew up there. In Nogales at the Bell Ranch, I was just like 4 years old. And they sent me to kindergarten in Nogales. They kicked me out. I was too noisy and mischievous. So I stayed home for a while, rode my horse. I had a pony at the time, had a very bad accident on it because I had just gotten a new pair of spurs for Christmas and didn't realize that when the horse was running, the spurs were going like this. So I grabbed a hold of a barbed wire fence as we were going by and injured myself quite badly. But anyway, that was over. Then they sent me to Calabasas school. I think I was 7 then. And during class one day, I informed the class, did they know about what a cut pig was? Nobody did. So it's a castrated pig. Oh, I informed the whole class. And then we moved here and bought the ranch. So I grew up at the ranch, went to school in Harshaw. I think my brother and I were the only 2 out-of-towners from Harshaw. And I don't know what I did, but I remember about 4 girls tried to put me down the outhouse. I was so sore I couldn't even move the next day, but I was determined I wasn't going down there. And we had a wonderful time at the ranch. There wasn't anything to do but ride horses, so we did that all the time. Nick Yagulis used to come down sometimes and ride with us. We used to race and do all kinds of things that my parents didn't even know about. One day my brother and I decided we found this dead rattlesnake. So we got off, got a stick, put the snake on the stick, took it home, curled it up right in front of the living room door. My mother came out and screamed, bloody murder. So we were quite mischievous. And we did a lot of things, but mostly riding at the ranch. And I was kind of bored. There was no radio, we couldn't have the radio. We didn't have a TV. So we did all these other things with our horses, playing Indians and things like that. And one day I thought to myself, we had to go to bed, and I didn't want to go to bed, but I did go to bed. And I thought, I had a door in my bedroom to go outside. So I decided I was going to go down and get my horse and ride up to Tapia's house. And I did, bareback. And if something had happened to me at that time, nobody would have known it. So I visited with them for a while, came back home, got in bed, and my parents never knew it. So I went to school in Patagonia up through the 8th grade. And then I went down to the high school only my junior year because my parents decided I needed to know another way of life than what I had. So they sent me to boarding school in Florida, Palm Beach, Florida. So I was a poor little thing from a ranch, and I had my little flat shoes on. We had a train coming from New York. I was in New York with my grandparents. Rode the school train to Florida, but I had my little flat shoes on, and all the other girls had great big high heels, and I never heard the end of that. They were really calling me names. But anyway, loved the school. After the first year, I was just so homesick. But I loved the school, and they did let me come back my junior year, and I went to school in Patagonia, again being very mischievous. So we had all our bedrolls in the school because we were having a slumber party. So somehow I found out there was a hole under the stage that went outside. So a friend of mine and I decided we were going to go through that hole and go down to Patagonia. This was in the night. So we did. Came back in, crawled back in the hole, got back in our bedrolls. Nobody knew the difference. But then I did go to school in Florida, and there were a lot of people that I met that were a lot of Cubans from Cuba, and I had a very good friend, Ramon Grau, and his grandfather was president in Cuba. And so one vacation, a few days that we had, my grandparents said that they would take me to Cuba. So we went to Cuba. And I saw a lot of my friends there. It must have been some vacation. And Ramon Grau, the grandson of the president, picked me up in a chauffeur-driven car, took me around, and showed me where his grandfather had lived and all the bullet holes that were in the building because they tried to kill him. But came back after school, after I graduated from there, came back, went to the U of A for 1 year, was a rodeo queen nominee from my dorm. Then in 1956, I was riding my horse home, and I met John Oliver along the road. And he stopped and talked to me, and we got married the next year. We had 3 children, Leah, right there, Van, and Johnny, who's in Yuma. And lots of little grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
7 and 7. 7 and 7.
Yeah, 7 and 7. Anyway, that's pretty much the end of my story.
The feedlot.
The movies.
They want to hear about
Okay, I
the
have a
movies.
funny one for you. I loved riding, I loved roundup, I loved cattle. So when we had to ship our cattle, they came down to Patagonia by truck, or else some people, herded them down. And they were in the corrals there, but they were going to leave on the train. The train was going to pick up the calves. So I was up on the fence watching all this and hating to see my calves leaving. And we used to have rain every afternoon. So the pens were just full of mud, water. So I was on the fence watching, and all of a sudden I fell right in the worst, deepest puddle there was. And your family lived across the street at the time.
Yeah.
Mendoza's?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't know if you were talking to me or somebody else.
I'm talking to you, Anyway, they took me in their house and cleaned me up. And somehow gave me some clothes I could wear, but I had it between my legs, I had it everywhere. But anyway, that's one that my daughter wanted me to tell you guys. I think that's enough.
They want to know about your movies, Mom. They want to know about your movies.
No.
Movies.
Yes, I don't know how this this came about, but when I came back my junior year, they were making a movie up at the Valley, and it was Oklahoma. And somehow, an agent wanted me to be in that movie. His name was Earl Jones. So I was, and danced with his grandson, who was also in the movie. And that was interesting, but I didn't think much about it. I just knew I might get some money at the end of the day. So then after that, anytime there was a movie out there, Earl Jones would call and want me to be there, be up there. So I was in altogether probably 7 movies. But anyway, that's my story.
What were the movies with?
Oh, why did you even ask
Some
that?
of them.
John Wayne, Harrison Ford,
Aw. Well, name the movies.
don't do that.
Daughter, you can read the movies.
Yes. She was in Oklahoma first, then in 1956, Bottom of the Bottle. That was Joseph Cotton. 1963, she was in McClintock with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara. Her dancing partner in McClintock was Eddie Faulkner. In 1979, she was in Frisco Kid with Harrison Ford and Gene Wilder. And in 1980, she was in Tom Horn with Steve McQueen, Linda Evans, Richard Farnsworth in the Centerville Valley. And then your father was in a big one at Red River in Elgin. That's what I remember. So you're
My name is Arnulfo de la Osa, and ever since I moved to Tucson, I was Arnie. And I was in the team roping, and the lady said, "We have a heck of a time pronouncing my name." Linda, it was Nona Carpenter that renamed me Arnie. She was later married to Bill, so. Anyhow, I guess I better, my story is going to be pretty similar to Ophelia because we were born in the same house, same homestead and everything, and more or less had about the same type of raising. I started school in Lokiel in 1944 as 5 years and 10 months old, I believe I was when I started. And went there till November of 44, and then we moved to Washington Camp. And that's where I went to school also. We had to walk, it's about a mile, Ophelia. Grew up around there, had a goat and a pony. And I put my brother Ono on the goat and me with a pony, and we'd ride around all those hills over there. Plenty of roads and trails to cover all the time. And I guess I had that pony for about 2 years, and it was a Shetland pony that Rich Hale, somebody had mentioned Rich Hale had fixed me up with him. My dad and Rich used to team up a lot, so Rich wanted me to get interested in that, I guess, and he gave me a pony. And that pony got so sick of me that after a couple of years, because I just wouldn't leave him alone. And I'd get to him when I was 10, 11 years old, and I'd try to catch him, and he'd just turn his tail towards me and kick at me. So that was the end of that pony. I was scared of him there for a while because he came close to kicking my head off. But anyhow, after that, we graduated to a horse, and I used to help my dad. My dad managed to put a herd of cows together, maybe 50, 60 head is all he had. And he had a homestead and some permits down there. And so we got into the cowboy and grew up with my dad helping him whatnot. And then in the summertime, in order to keep us out of trouble and all, school ended in May. and we shed our shoes. As soon as school was out, we took our shoes off, and from then on, it was barefooted through the summer. And to keep us out of trouble and keep us busy doing something, my dad would gather about 5 or 6 cows out of his good milkers that he had, and he'd pen them up, and we'd have to milk in the morning and the evening, and go after them. Especially when rainy season started, they wouldn't come in the evening because they were out eating green grass. We had to go foot sometimes on the horseback. And what we would do was milk in the mornings and evenings. And my mom would make some quesadillas. And it's not the quesadillas you see in the restaurants anymore. They hijacked that name and turned it into a dish. The real quesadilla is a type of cheese is what it is. It is, yeah. And you mix half fresh milk and half curdled milk, and that's what it turned out to be. And at that time, there was a lot of mines going on out there in Duquesne, Washington Camp area, and so anyhow, we'd saddle the little horse when we had a saddle, most of the time bareback, and we'd get on them and we'd go around those mining camps or mining, the mines around noon, and my mom would make, we'd milk, the mom would make the quesadillas, and about 10 o'clock or so, she'd be done, and we'd go sell those quesadillas for 10 cents a piece, and his grandma, Mahanka, would tell us, don't sell to those miners. You bring them over here. We want to buy all of them. She loved my mom's quesadillas. So anyhow, we settled around the houses there, and that would keep us out of trouble. And I guess maybe once during the summer, we'd put our shoes back on 4th of July, I'm thinking. And then, other than that, we didn't wear them at all. We could run through a sticker patch with no problem at all. And let me see. And I grew up, as a matter of fact, Nomi and I were in the same class, his wife, and I always sat next to her because I would set us in alphabetical order, and she was a C and I was a D, so Cornelio, Nomi, myself, and then Mariano were right together all the time. And I was one of my sister mentioned that they moved, started junior high here at the high school. And I was one of the first 8th graders. And we graduated, I think they started out the class, for our senior year with about 16, 17 people. And by the time we graduated, there was only 12 of us. And there's only 3 of us alive, myself, Nomi, and Johnny Wright. And see, as after graduation, I graduated in May as a 17-year-old. And I joined the Navy, and a couple of months later, I joined the Navy and training in San Diego, and I was one of the few that turned out to be what they call a CB, and that's a construction battalion. They scared the heck out of me when I was one of several companies that was in the CB. They scared me, telling me, "Oh, you're the one that lands with the Marines, so because we have to do the construction of camps and stuff." And oh boy, just scared the heck out of me. And I guess I was nothing but a country kid, because when I was in the Navy, I'd hear a telephone ring, and boy, I'd want to stampede out of it. I never answered the phone until many years later. And let me see what else I can add to it. I rode the bus with Ophelia, and I remember when we used to pick up Patty and Bucky over there at their place, and a lot of people from Harshaw and the trench line, all those places were going. And later on, it got pretty skinny there in the late 50s when they started closing the mines and all. And when I got back from the Navy, most of the mines had closed, which I didn't want to be a miner anyway. So Mr. Holbrook, I worked at the Vaca Ranch for 4 years, right as soon as I got back from the Navy. And I helped Raymond Begier. My first job out of the Navy was, he was gathering, got discharged in October, and I think your dad started rounding up in November
I
sometime.
need to contact it.
And, yeah, so I worked for him for about a month and a half, I think, because we gathered both ranches right at that time, as I recall. And the first thing I had to do was shoe horses for about 2 weeks. And then we got on the roundup and stuff. And from there, I think I helped my dad for a while. He was cutting the posts. He had sold his homestead down there in Loquillo. And we built some fence on it after he sold it. Because up to then, it was not fenced. And except for the east side, which would butt up against the Santa Fe Valley Ranch. And anyhow, we helped him cut some posts and do all the holes and posts and whatnot, and string some barbed wire. And let me see. Then I got a job at the Vaca Ranch. Don Hartgraft, I think, had just been let go. So there was an opening there in August of 1960. And I went to worked for a real wonderful guy, Jay Hudson. He became the manager, and really liked working for him. But I married a girl from Patagonia over here, the valedictorian, and we'd go to town once a month to get a haircut and cash her checks and whatnot, or a check, I guess. And she'd come home with a stack of books about that high. And she'd have him read in about a week. So I asked her one time, what would you have done if we hadn't got married? We had a daughter with it. And she says, I'd have probably gone to college. And I felt pretty guilty that I thought I was holding her back from reaching her potential. So about that time, they were hiring a lot of people with Arizona Department of Transportation, because the interstate system was just getting started going through Arizona. And had the good luck of Mr. Holbrook, Bill, a good friend of mine, I guess. I asked him for if he could hire me, and he said, yeah. So I told Marcia, I said, I'm going to quit my job, move to Tucson, and you can go to school. Which she did. She went to college and became a school teacher, but I got that job through Bill, and I was there 30 years with the Department of Transportation. And then after retired, I got called back many, many times for as a consultant, and especially for bridges. I got to where I knew the bridges pretty well, and I watched it. I was an inspector, is what I was, yeah. So I did that for about 20 years more. So I worked for the Department of Transportation for about 50 years total. Yeah. And let me see, ever since then, I quit working, I guess. I've been staying home, built the houses. Built my house that I lived in, and I built my house for my mom and dad over here at the foot of the grade school. I did that in the late 90s. Took me about a year to get that done. Not by myself, of course, I was running the job. So the Navy construction helped me a lot with my getting a job with ADOT and bridges and stuff, and then I had the nerve to build a couple of houses. And I guess that's the end of my story, I believe. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, that's about it. I covered the quesadillas, didn't I?
Any questions for Arnie?
Yes.
Any questions for you?
I have a question for all of them, actually.
Yeah.
In your day, way back when, how was the border? What was your memories? Did you cross it to go see family?
At that time,
Did you go trade food? You know, how was it back then?
the border you're talking about,
Yeah.
okay, they had what they call line riders at that time at the border over there, because they had the hoof and mouth disease in Mexico. And I remember several occasions where the cow had come across, and they did kill her and burn her right there. They didn't want that stuff to get spread around over here. And I think Maria's dad was a line rider for a while. Matter of fact, growing up down there in that area, well, I think I got to know about 3 of them. Your dad was one of them, and Roy something was another. Anyhow, about 3 of them through those years, yeah. But it was nothing but barbed wire fence and just 4 strands, as I recall, and the cattle could get through there, yeah. Any more questions?
Question, what was did you say the cows had a disease?
Yes, ma'am, they call it a hoof and mouth disease, yeah.
No.
Mhm. And they eradicated it, but they needed to continue monitoring it and keeping it clean, you know, so yeah. It's a pretty bad disease for cows, yeah.
One more thing, how big are quesadillas?
Oh, quesadillas, the way my mom made them were, they're about maybe 5 inches in diameter and folded them in half. And then, of course, at that time, wax paper was the going thing, you know, so we put each one of them in a piece of wax paper. We put them in a get a little sack and go around those lines and sell them 10 cents a piece.
Who kept the
Of course,
money?
we have to stop by the Washington Can store and buy candy or pop at that time. Yes, ma'am.
Who kept the money?
I don't remember. I don't very little. Very little, just what we spent on candy and pop. Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing. When I got to be 14, 15 years old, I was bashful too. So everybody had a good-looking girl about my age there. So I sent Ono to go to the houses, to the front doors and knock, and I stayed with the horses and the quesadillas. He was a pretty brave guy, I tell you, but he didn't care.
Artie, tell us a little bit about the story about you and Max Jones meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, I was in the Navy, yeah.
It might be interesting.
Sure enough, yeah, when I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Alaska to begin with for about a year. Then I got sent to Okinawa, and Max Jones had just, I think he was on the reserves, but anyhow, he went active for a few years there, and I don't even know how we did it, but we happened to know, I think I kept watching for his ships whenever they sailed in. And sure enough, one time I heard that his ship was in, so I went over there and looked him up, and sure, he was there. So, of course, we went on Liberty that afternoon, and don't even remember getting home. But I always thought it was pretty neat, a couple of kids from Patagonia meeting up in Okinawa, you know, so.
I've
Yes,
always
sir.
tried to get a sense for the size of the towns up there, whether it was Lochiel, Washington Camp, Trench,
Oh,
you know,
the Washington Camp was pretty well populated. There were several families, I'm gonna say 10, 12 families there, and they were all into the mining. Lochiel had a lot more, and all of them related to Lochiel over there. Okay, they were all came from the De La Osa clan there. So there was probably another 10, 20 families around there too, yeah.
and did they have their own social world, economic world in terms of a store and post office or
Dance hall?
bar?
Oh, that's all, let's see, when I was a kid, there used to be some dances in Harshaw, which was an old store there, that we used to have dances there, here in Patagonia, and La Opera, they call it, the opera house over here. And my Uncle Tony had a place down there in the Washington Camp itself. He had a big old patio there, and I remember him 2 or 3 occasions where he put on a dance and sell food there and stuff, yeah.
Did you go to Santa Cruz?
What's that again?
Santa Cruz, did you go dancing?
Oh, no, I never went dancing down there, no. But we used to go there quite a bit because the line was open there 24/7, you know, and my mom was from down there. So we'd go down there quite often to see my grandma. And between the line, the field there at the line and Santa Cruz, there was a lot of little parcels that they raised vegetables down there. They water right out of the Santa Cruz River. And we go down there on weekends, and that's where we get our vegetables and stuff coming home, you know, and lots of corn from down there and all, yeah. What?
That's Artie's wife. Talk about you working at the store and the gentleman that owned the store, that what you remember about him.
Oh, George Gerard, yeah. When I was about 15 or 16 years old, George Gerard had a store in the Washington Camp there.